Hey everyone, quick video on the phone here for NHL news and rumors. Of course, if you're a new subscriber, welcome. Hit that like button, notification bell, all that good stuff. And we're also going to be doing some podcast recordings to go over some predictions for foreign nations, a lot of the latest news, so look out for that as well. I'll be posting some clips, and we're also going to post back on full podcast potentially. So stuff that's going on right now as we record here on Saturday. The Toronto Maple Leafs, Nazem Kadri, I would say rumblings. I think for me, being in his mid-30s at this point, getting into his mid-30s and a $7 million cap hit, I've already seen those conversations, and Doug MacLean goes on Kipper and Bourne, talks about him as the target, talks about bringing Kadri back, talks about Brad Treliving kicking tires. I think the scenario is, what does Calgary want? Is Calgary willing to retain on the $7 million? If they're not willing to retain, how can the Leafs even get the deal done? I think unless there's a player that's on LTIR long-term. Shout out to Jeremiah. He asked me on Twitter. And again, feel free to anytime reach out to me on Twitter. Ask me some questions. I'm always down to answer them and even address them on a video like this. I think if you're going to maybe consider trading an Easton Cowan, which I think should not be the scenario and should not be in consideration, it's got to be for significant pieces to improve your playoff chances to go on a deep run. So if Calgary was willing to maybe retain 50% on that cap hit to get it from 7 down to 3.5 for Nazem Kadri, I mean, that is huge value for the Leafs to have for a couple runs here coming up, right? So if Calgary wanted Easton Cowan, they're going, hey, we'll retain 50% on Kadri's remaining deal and then maybe even throw another piece. My response was, I don't think Leaf fans or any Leaf fans are considering an Easton Cowan trade, and frankly, an Easton Cowan trade with Calgary, unless 50% of Nazem Kadri was involved in terms of his cap hit, or Rasmus Andersson. So I think beyond that, you're not considering trading Easton Cowan. I think a lot of Leaf fans would be enticed to trade a Nick Robertson. So on a lower level target, is it a Nick Robertson for maybe a Nick Bjugstad in Utah? So I think it'd have to be more than Robertson. So maybe Robertson and a mid-round pick, a third or fourth round pick. I think that could get Nick Bjugstad 6'6", only a $2 million cap hit. I think he's about 2.1. So that's an intriguing option for the Leafs. We saw Nick Bjugstad be a great option for Edmonton as a rental in the past, and other teams. He's shown that value, face-off guy, things like that. So Nick Bjugstad, keep an eye on him. I know people have talked about Ryan O'Reilly. You know what? I think for me with Ryan O'Reilly, he likes the executives in terms of Shanahan or whoever it is. I also think when you look at O'Reilly, great fit for the Leafs, but does he like the media-centric Toronto market? And I don't think he does. I think he likes going to Nashville, being low-key, being in the country scene, being in the bars, not being noticed. If you saw towards the end in Toronto, he was being kind of approached by fans. He doesn't like that. He likes the low-keyness. You can criticize him if you want. I've had my criticisms of that. I think you're a big boy. You're in the National Hockey League, but I also understand and respect the family aspect and keeping your family life and personal life private. So I see both sides. But talking about the Edmonton Oilers I just mentioned with the rental market and Nick Bjugstad, I think they're going to go look into the goalie and defense market. And two guys that are connected to the Edmonton Oilers right now are David Jiricek and John Gibson. There's a lot of rumors now to suggest that John Gibson would actually waive to go to Edmonton. And I think that wasn't a scenario in the past. Now it is a scenario. He's looked good so far. So if John Gibson goes to Edmonton, who goes back to Anaheim? Could it be a contract or two? Could Stuart Skinner make his way back to Anaheim? I think there's scenarios where maybe Edmonton makes that work and Anaheim has to retain. But I think John Gibson's finally a realistic target again for Edmonton because there's rumors to suggest that he would waive. And David Jiricek, there's 3 teams right now. And guys, we did record a part for this for the Sabres. So if Jiricek's not traded yet, I'll probably post this on Monday or Tuesday. We'll see. But Jiricek trade keeps gaining more steam. Sent down to the AHL, hasn't found his fit in Columbus. Right shot defenseman, 6'3", got the shot, two-way abilities, offense on that blue line. I think Jiricek could bring a lot of value in the top 4 for a long run. And our argument for the Buffalo Sabres was, hey, you got Byram and Dahlian buzzing. Could you put Jiricek next to Owen Power and have such a dynamic top 4 for a long time in Buffalo? I think Sabres fans are already getting excited about the top 3 there. Could you add a top 4? But the 2 names, or 2 teams, I should say, that are being mentioned a lot is Edmonton and Nashville for David Jiricek. Specifically on Nashville, where they really went all out in terms of acquiring older, established players, whether it's Stamkos, Marchessault, Brady Shea. It hasn't worked out for Nashville so far. Could they maybe bring some youth into that defense core and maybe help things going forward? I'm sure if you could spread things out with Shea on that second pair, you have Yossi next to a Jiricek. It's just an example. It's kind of funny because Nashville's bottom pair and my boy Luke Shen involved in the equation. like they've been great. So you know what? There's weird things happening in Nashville where guys like Stamkos and Marchessault have struggled so much. Like Stamkos has had some power play production. Marchessault in the last like 20 games has not looked good at all, like at all. So 5-on-5, they're having a problem. I think overall the Preds are going to be in these conversations of acquiring younger players. Of course, with Columbus, I don't think Columbus wants like older players. So that's going to be an interesting partnership there. Could maybe Nashville acquire Juracek? Maybe trade some draft picks. Who knows? But I think that there's going to be a scenario here where if Nashville doesn't get better going into the new year, they're going to have to make some tough decisions. But Edmonton, that's very interesting. They already took a flyer on Ty Emberson, who's looked good from San Jose. They could use another right shot defenseman. If they go young with David Juracek, again, there might have to be some draft picks, maybe some prospects. They just acquired Savoy. Is Savoy flipped, or do they keep him? And then for the John Gibson scenario, is it Skinner going back the other way? Is it a contract like Brett Kulak? Maybe it's a two-parter situation for Edmonton. If they do trade for a younger defenseman in Juracek, maybe they trade for a guy that has a bit of a higher cap hit and go after a goalie. So keep an eye on all that, guys. Leafs, Oilers, Preds, Blue Jackets. We're talking about all of that, but more stuff coming in, more videos. But I wanted to talk about that. And of course, the Kadri stuff. I mean, Leaf fans are going to dream about bringing Naz back. I think it would be unreal. I don't think you're trading for him with his cap hit, but if there's some retention maybe from Calgary's side, maybe a couple draft picks. Like if there's a scenario where you're trading next year's first, a second, maybe even Robertson and getting him retained, is that something to consider? Maybe the contracts of Jarren Crow or Kampf are moving the other way. Keep an eye on it, guys. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, comment, notification bell. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.